Hey everyone! Today we're looking at the Alcatel SmartFlip, a great phone that can't group text. But with correct expectations, you'll find that having a flip phone in 2020 might be more enjoyable than you think. Let's dive deeper, shall we? First, let's talk about expectations and what this phone is and isn't. This phone is a phone that just so happens to do other things. Don't get that confused with today's smartphones, which are just devices that have everything and just so happen to call and text. That said, here's what you can expect from this mighty little flip phone. Basic communication, like calls, texts, and emails. Basic music, like MP3s and FM radio. Basic navigation, GPS and simple Google Maps. Emergency internet, emergency camera, and Google Assistant when you're just feeling too lazy to type. This phone doesn't have, nor can you make it have, blazing fast speeds, mainstream apps such as social media, banking, and streaming services. The phone. It's all plastic here. Plastic body, plastic screens, outside and inside. That's right, this phone is dual screen. The outside screen allows you to see the time, who is calling, and notifications. It's also very easy to scratch it. This phone has not been dropped, but the scratches just come from being in the same pocket as keys and other sharp objects. And then there's the main screen inside. The main screen is bright enough most of the time. Super bright summer sun can make it a little hard to read, but everything outside of that, it is sufficient. The rest of the phone is sturdy and works well. The buttons feel good and are very clicky, but they might be on the harder side. The speaker is excellent for calls. The mono and earpiece speaker both get loud and clear for you to hear every call. It's also a single camera. More on that later. The battery is removable, by the way, and it lasts a minimum of 3 days, no matter how much you use it. It hides the nano SIM and micro SD card slot. The SD card can only hold up to 32 gigabytes, by the way. The software on this phone is Kai OS. It's a cool little interface that runs really well on the phone. Texting is good too. It has your typical T9 and it predicts your words really well, but it does not suggest your next word. Here's an example. See how if I type how and press space, you see nothing? Where on other T9 predictive implementations, you would see it guess what you might type next by suggesting R right after I finish typing how. Something small, I know, but worth noting for those wanting true T9 speediness. Something that is big, however, is the lack of group texting. All text messages come in as single messages. It does keep threads, so all your messages from one person are in one spot, like on a smartphone, but group messaging doesn't come in as a group. I only receive texts from the original sender regardless of if they've sent me a group chat or not. With a little detective work, you'll have to deduce on your own who is in your group. If you have a fear of T9, however, you have Google Assistant to help you out. At any time, a long press of the OK button will pull up the assistant. From there, you can just say whatever you want instead of typing. You can text from it, text mom, hi, this is a text from Google Assistant. You can call and more. Anything the Google Assistant doesn't understand, it will just launch the browser and put in what you said as a Google search. Things that don't work with the Google Assistant are setting things like timers and reminders. This phone doesn't support many background tasks. So if you tell Google Assistant to do something and you don't see it on the screen, it's not doing anything. Google Assistant is not the only Google thing on this phone though. There is more Google goodness to be had. You can also sync your Gmail account in the phone settings. That will sync your contacts for calling and texting people. You can of course sync your Gmail account in the email app, along with almost any other email. Additionally, this phone has YouTube built in it and it works pretty well. It's a good little emergency YouTube app. Good enough to watch a quick tutorial if you find yourself stuck in the wild, lost by the instructions given in the manual, but also low quality enough where you won't get stuck binging for hours. The biggest Google thing on this phone is Google Maps. It's pretty great, quite simply. You just open the app, pick a place you want to go, and get the directions. It's extremely similar to Google Maps on a standard smartphone. However, there's one catch. The directions are turn by turn. While this phone does have GPS, and you can see yourself on the map with a little blue dot that updates live, you will still need to manually click through each direction to get where you want to go. No voice readout either. For what it is, it works well. Just pay attention to where you're going and you should get there. There is one issue we noticed though with the maps. Google Maps didn't tell us about detours or construction or road closures. That is something that could potentially be a big issue. For the most part though, it gets the job done. Moving on to the camera. It's simple. You can switch between taking a photo and video. There's the self-time option and turning on and off the grid. That's about it. And you can pick between low, standard, and high quality video. Check it out. Here's a photo. Here's another one. Here's some video. As you can see, you're not going to be taking anything award-winning, but it is good enough to take a photo of something instead of writing it down, like a phone number. It's not great, but it gets the job done. For the music junkies, you may find yourself disappointed. Unless you have been keeping up with your CD collection and ripping them, you aren't going to have any music on the go besides the radio. There's no Spotify, Apple Music, or anything like that. Just the MP3s that you have, and of course the radio. Speaking about music, you do have a headphone jack on this phone, but also Bluetooth. How cool! You can connect your Bluetooth headset to listen to all your favorite hits. It works well too. Play, pause, volume controls, answer, and hang-up calls all work from the headset as well. It's a nice little feature to have on a little flip phone. Shifting gears to the internet. There is indeed a web browser on this phone. It's fine. It can be clumsy, but hopefully you are starting to notice a trend by now. It's good enough to get the job done. The phone also supports tethering over 4G. Just plug in your phone to your laptop or whatever, and have at it with all your internet needs while you're out in the wild. This AT&T phone doesn't support wireless hotspotting, but this phone goes by many names on other carriers, and some of those support hotspotting even though they are the same phone. Alright, last thing before we wrap up. This phone does actually have apps on it. I know I said before to not expect any mainstream apps, but there's actually a Kai OS app store. Most apps are not worth your time to install. WhatsApp and Facebook are here though, for those that think it's necessary to drag those along with them. There used to be an official Twitter app as well, but it has vanished as of a few updates ago. Oh well. The apps are clumsy, so you probably won't miss it, but social media diehards, beware. That's pretty much it with this phone. It's a great phone with some compromises, but not nearly as big of compromises that you may think. It can be had for a great price. We got ours from Best Buy for $30 US. It now goes for $40 at Best Buy or $60 from the AT&T store. If you can get it for less than $40, I would say it is a pretty fair price. I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you have any questions, let us know down below. And a quick note, every time you reboot this phone, you're welcomed with a beautiful AT&T chime. Just something to remember when you leave the cinema. All right, that's all. Have a great day. Bye-bye.